When single dad Ethan arrived at the community center with his 12-year-old daughter Lily, he was already exhausted from working a double shift. He wasn't expecting to get involved in anyone else's problems. But the moment he walked past the hallway near the art room, he heard a trembling voice whisper, "Please, broken bar, don't lift my skirt." The voice wasn't fearful, it was embarrassed. Ethan turned and saw a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s, sitting on the floor with her knees slightly bent, one hand gripping the edge of her skirt. She was a volunteer teacher he had seen before, Miss Aria. She was clearly injured, her ankle swollen badly. She wasn't asking because she feared him, she was asking because she didn't want anyone to see the bruise spreading up her leg. And Ethan, who had learned compassion the hard way as a father, bent down gently and said, "I won't touch you unless you allow me." "But that injury needs to be checked." Aria shook her head, cheeks flushed in embarrassment. "It looks awful, a broken bar. I slipped during class, and the skirt is stuck under my knee. I don't want to expose anything. It's just too humiliating." Ethan understood more than she realized. His late wife had been the same way, strong but overly modest, afraid of becoming someone's burden. He removed his jacket without another word and draped it over her lap like a blanket. "There," he said softly, "you're covered. Now can I look and help you?" Aria hesitated, took a shaky breath, and nodded. With the jacket shielding her completely, Ethan carefully lifted only the fabric corner trapped under her leg, never seeing anything she didn't want seen. And that moment, so small, so respectful, changed something deep inside both of them. Lily ran up, eyes wide with concern. "Dad, what happened?" she asked. Aria forced a smile, afraid that she was causing trouble. But Lily immediately knelt beside her. "I have bandages in my bag. I always keep them because Dad is clumsy." Her light-hearted comment made Aria laugh through the pain. Ethan worked carefully, checking the injury with practiced hands. Years of raising a child alone had made him half doctor, half guardian. As he gently supported Aria's leg, he realized she was shaking not from pain, but from the fear of being a burden. He knew that feeling well. Once Aria could stand, Ethan offered his arm. She took it hesitantly, leaning just enough to stay balanced. "You didn't have to help me," she murmured. Most people would have walked past. Ethan glanced down at her with a small smile. "I've walked past too many people in my life. I don't do that anymore." Something in his voice made her look at him differently, like she understood he carried a story heavier than any injury she could hide. When they reached the bench outside, Aria tried to thank him again, but her voice cracked with emotion. While Lily went to bring water, Aria confessed softly, "I hate appearing weak. My father raised me to never ask for help." Ethan sat beside her, hands resting calmly on his knees. "Asking for help isn't weakness," he said. "Trust me. I learned that the day I became a single dad." Aria studied him carefully. There was no pity in his face, no judgment, just sincerity. For the first time in years, she felt safe opening up. She told him how volunteering here was her escape from a controlling environment and how even a small accident would be used against her at home. Ethan clenched his jaw slightly. "No one should live afraid of being judged for getting hurt," he said. His words carried weight, and Aria could feel the compassion beneath them. Lily returned, handing Aria water, and sat protectively beside her. "Dad always says people deserve kindness," Lily said proudly. Aria smiled at the girl's warmth. Ethan watched her interact with his daughter, and something in his heart softened. It had been a long time since a stranger treated Lily with genuine affection. Later, when the center closed, Ethan insisted on walking Aria out to the parking lot. But when they reached her car, she froze. Her father's car was parked right next to hers. Aria whispered, "He must have followed me." Fear washed over her face like a storm. Ethan immediately stepped slightly in front of her, protective without being aggressive. Lily instinctively stood by Aria's side. When the older man stepped out, his expression stern and controlling, Aria trembled. Her father scolded her instantly. "You embarrassed yourself again, falling, making people take care of you. You should have called me instead of strangers." Ethan felt anger rise, but he kept his voice calm. "Sir, she didn't burden anyone. She got injured. and we helped. That's all. But the man dismissed Ethan like he was insignificant. Arya's shoulders curled inward the way people shrink when they've lived under years of pressure. Ethan recognized it. He'd seen the same posture in shelter survivors he once helped during volunteer work. Arya tried to defend herself, explaining the fall, but her father cut her off. Get in the car now. She looked torn between obedience and the desire for freedom. Ethan stepped back, letting her choose without influence. He knew force wouldn't help. Instead, he simply said softly, "You deserve to heal your ankle and your life. Whatever choice you make, do it for you." His words hit her harder than her father's scolding ever did. With trembling breath, Arya surprised everyone, especially herself, when she whispered, "I'm not going with you." Her father's face twisted with outrage. Lily grabbed Ethan's arm nervously. Ethan stood firmly but respectfully. "She's an adult," he said quietly. "Let her decide." Her father argued, threatened, and tried to guilt her, but Arya stayed rooted to the ground, shaking yet determined. Eventually, her father stormed off, slamming his car door and driving away without looking back. The silence afterward was heavy, but Arya felt something new, relief, raw, trembling relief. She sank onto the curb, overwhelmed. Ethan crouched beside her. "You were brave," he said softly. "That wasn't easy." Arya let out a breath she had held for years. "I've never stood up to him before." Ethan nodded. "First time is always the hardest." "But you did it." Lily sat next to her and hugged her lightly. Arya's eyes filled with grateful tears. Ethan drove her home, making sure she could walk to her door safely. Before she got out, she turned to him and said, "Thank you. Not just for helping with my ankle broken bar, but for helping me realize I'm allowed to choose my own life." Ethan felt something shift in his chest, a warmth he hadn't felt since before he became a widower. "Anytime," he replied quietly. But Arya shook her head. "No, a broken bar. You didn't help me because you had to. You did it because that's who you are." Over the next few days, Arya and Lily grew unexpectedly close. Lily would check on her injury, bring her drawings, and sit with her during art classes. Arya grew fond of the little girl's honesty and courage. And Ethana, though careful and respectful, found himself drawn into their small circle of healing and trust. Every time Arya looked at him, she remembered the moment he placed his jacket over her lap so she wouldn't feel exposed. She realized it wasn't about lifting a skirt, it was about lifting her dignity when she thought she had none left. One evening, Arya admitted softly, "That moment changed everything for me. You treated me like a person, not a responsibility. You protected my privacy instead of taking advantage of my fear." Ethan felt humbled. "I just did what any decent person should do," he said. But Arya shook her head. "People like you, Arya, you helped me stand up, not just physically a broken bar but emotionally." Lily grinned at them both. "See, Dad, helping people makes life better." Months later, Arya's life looked different, healthier, freer, filled with choices she once thought impossible. And Ethan, who had lived in survival mode for years, found a gentle, growing hope in her presence. Their lives had changed because of one memento, one fearful whisper, one respectful gesture, one act of kindness that sparked courage. It wasn't about the skirt, it was about reclaiming dignity, breaking free from control, and discovering that sometimes the smallest moment can change two lives forever.